Guys, before that, let's have a quick recap. What is that we have discussed in the last session? How do I access the members? So that's what I'm going to discuss in today's session. If you want to access anything, you have to use the dot. Whenever we create any variables, okay, we need to initialize the values. Hello everyone, I welcome all of you to the yet another beautiful and interesting session. Lecturer in the Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram First Grade College. So fine, let's get into the session. What is that I have? Guys, before that, let's have a quick recap. What is that we have discussed in the last session? So I have discussed what exactly the class is all about and what is object. So before that, let's check and recollect the syntax for that. So I have to use the keyword called class if I want to define any class. Then followed by, I should have the class name. All right, I should have the class name. That's a second thing that I need to remember. And then I should open the flower bracket and I should close the flower bracket. So fine. Inside this, I will have two things. One is data members. Another one is methods, that is member functions. So fine, say for example, I have data members in the sense variables. So if I say like variables, you will be able to understand it quickly. So that's why I'm using a word called variables. So instead, I should also call it as a fields declaration. So fine, let me use it. Okay, so whatever I write, like int A, B, C. So this is what I will call it as a variable declaration. So fine, after that, I will have the methods. I will have the methods. So you have, what is the syntax of the method? So I have discussed. So I have to mention the type. Say for example, type here I will be using int, and the name of the method, say for example, I'm using a rectangle. All right, inside this is what I will call it as a parameters. Whatever I write. So how many parameters I have? I have one. All right, so this is what I can have multiple parameters using a comma separator. But here I have only one. That's what you need to understand. So fine. After that, I'll open the flower bracket and close the flower bracket. So this is what I will call it as a body of the method. This is what I will call it as a body of the method. That's what you need to remember here. So this is the general syntax that we have discussed in the last session. Along with that, I have also discussed the syntax to create the object. So what is the syntax? So fine, I have to write the name of the class. Say for example, I have the name of the class as rectangle. So this is what I have taken. Rectangle. So if the class name is rectangle, I have to write rectangle. All right. Then after that, object name R1 is equal to new rectangle. All right. Imagine I've written beautifully rectangle. You're able to see that. Okay. I don't have space. So fine. So this is the name of the class. This is the object name. So please remember, and this is a keyword. All right, so this is a keyword that you need to remember, and this is the constructor. Okay, this is the constructor. I had told you in the last class, I will be discussing what exactly this constructor is all about. Yes, I think it's time to discuss what exactly the constructor is all about. Why do I use this? And then how do I access the members? So that's what I'm going to discuss in today's session. So fine, all of you have the notepad next to you. So please keep that next to you. I will be discussing a lot of important topics, so which you will be able to understand it very comfortably today. All right, so fine, accessing data members. That's the first thing that I have. The only thing that you need to remember is dot. All right, so what is that you have to remember? So you have to remember the dot. That's why I have taken the big dot, a red dot. So if you want to access anything, you have to use the dot. So what is that I need to access? Say for example, I have the bag. Inside that bag, I have a lot of books. I have a C programming book. I have a Java book. I have software testing book. I have a Python book. So a lot of books I have. So I need to access Python now. Okay, how do I access? So my bag name, I will call it as Jimmy. All right. So let me call my bag name as Jimmy. Okay. So because I have 4 to 5 bags. All right. So in the different bags, I carry different things. Lunch bag also I have. Okay. I have my jerkin bag. A lot of bags I have. Let's just imagine like that. So I need to access the Jimmy bag. So what is that I'll do? So Jimmy dot in the sense I'm accessing the Jimmy bag where I carry all my books. So Jimmy dot, I will be accessing the Python book, right? I want to access the Python book, right? So what is that I have to give? Jimmy dot Python. Suppose if I want to access C programming, what do I do? So Jimmy dot C programming. Suppose if I want to access software testing, what do I do? Jimmy dot software testing. This is one scenario. The another scenario I told you, like, I have lunchbox. I need to access my breakfast. Okay, I have 3 boxes, imagine. Breakfast, lunch, and supper. What is supper, sir? My dinner is what I will call as a supper. All right. So fine, I need to access my breakfast. How do I access it? So I will write the class name. So class name is a bag name here. So my lunch bag. Okay. So lunch bag dot breakfast. Okay. Lunch bag dot lunch. Lunch bag dot supper. All right. So this is how I will be able to access with the help of dot operator. If you want to access any data member, you have to use dot operator. So fine, I have some of the examples here. If you want to access any methods, okay, so you have to use object name dot method. All right, please observe here, object name dot method name. And I have one more thing, object name dot variable name is equal to value. What is this? How do I understand this up? Say for example, I have a class called student. What is that I have? I have a class called student. I have 60 students. So for 60 students, can I create 60 classes? No. So for that, I'm creating 60 objects. So how do I create that? Listen to me carefully. So class student. Okay, this is my beautiful board now. Class student, right? So I'm creating 60 objects. So my objects is like, S1 to S60. So imagine your roll number is S2. Okay, for you, I need to give you the marks, that is 365 is your total marks. How do I assign it? So for you, I have 60 students. So your roll number is what? So S2. So please observe here. S2 dot marks. Okay, S2 dot marks is equal to 360. This is how I access you particularly. Suppose if I want to assign the marks to your friend register number, that is object. Okay, that is S3. So how do I allocate? S3 dot marks is equal to 340. Happy? Your friend is getting less. All right. So this is how I use the dot operator to access some particular thing. That's what you need to remember. So guys, I have listed a lot of things here. So that's for your reference. So my job is to make you the concept very simple and easy. Let me not read this. All right. So fine. So this is how you will be accessing. In the same way, so you will be accessing the methods also. Say for example, I need to use the print method or a display method. So how do I use it? So only for you guys, I have to use the print method. How do I use it? Say for example, what is your object name? So your object name is S2. S2 dot display. S2 dot display. All right. So please, who is calling the display method? You are calling the display method. How do you say that you are calling the display method? So S2 is you. All right. So that's what you need to remember here. So this is the speciality of dot operator. This is the speciality of dot operator. That's what you need to remember here. So fine, I will be moving on to the next topic that I have. I think all these things I have discussed in the last slides. Let me move to the next one, that is constructor. What is this constructor? Sir, we know contractor. What is this constructor? I think we are getting too very lazy, guys. That's why we have this concept here on my board. Why do we use this constructor? Let's understand. I was very surprised. Why do we need this constructor? When I was thinking, and I had to do some research, and I need to understand this concept, but I felt very bad of using this constructor. One of the author where he was writing about the constructor, and he says that whenever we create any variables, okay, we need to initialize the values for that variables. I repeat, whenever I create any variables, we need to initialize the values for that variables. So sometimes user might forget to initialize the values to the variables. So to avoid that problem, to avoid that thing of initializing the variables or the values to the variables, so we use a concept, or we give a responsibility to the compiler to initialize the values to the variable as soon as I create the object. Hope you got my lengthy explanation. Let me make it very simple now. Guys, I have the variables. If I take the variables, obviously I need to initialize some values. Say for example, I have taken int a. Alright, so when I take int a, as soon as I declare this, I need to assign some values, right? So what is the value that I should assign? I might forget to initialize the value as a user, as a programmer. So for that, I am making the compiler as my assistant, and I'm insisting the compiler as soon as I create the object for that class. So you initialize the value for this variable. So who is doing that job? This person is doing that job, the constructor. Constructor is responsible to initialize the values automatically to the variables as soon as I create the variables. That's what you need to remember here at this point of time, the beautiful role of the constructor. Fine, I understood that. Then what is the syntax that I should remember? You need to remember one thing about the constructor. If I say the word constructor, the name of the class and the name of the constructor should be same. That is the first thing that we should make a note of it. I repeat, so please make a note of it. Whenever I take any constructor, the name of the constructor and the name of the class should be same. Only then I will be calling that function as a constructor. What is that? You added something new, saying that it's a function? Yes, of course. It's a method. Constructor is a method, one of the special methods that I have. The only thing that I will not have is type. You will not have the return type for the constructors. Point number one, you will not have the return type for the constructor, and the name of the constructor should be same as the class name. That is two important things that you need to remember with respect to the constructor. And it initializes the value. It initializes the value as soon as you create the object. That's a very important thing. We have different types of constructors, of course. One is default constructor, another one is parameterized constructor. That's what we are going to discuss now. Moving on to the next thing. Let's take an example for the constructor. Let me show you some snippet. In the coming sessions, I will execute the programs and I'll show you how exactly the constructor is working. Alright, so the first thing that you need to make a note of it. So as I told you, the constructor name should be same as class name, and it's a method, of course. So you would find it is very difficult to imagine. So that's why I have the program for all of you on my screen, so that you will be able to get it, what I'm trying to explain. So fine, I have the class keyword. I'm trying to create a class. The name of the class is rectangle. Please make a note of it. This is very important. I will be using this again, alright? So fine, I'm creating two variables of type int, so that is length and width. Then again, I have the method. So can I call this as a method? Yes, of course you can call this as a method. Whatever you want, you can call it. So it is your class. Yes, my class, but this is a method. All right. So please observe, the name of the method is rectangle. So you need to note, I have already the class name as a rectangle, and the name of the method is also rectangle. All right. So this is what I will call it as a constructor. And one more thing you need to notice here, no head. There is no return type. So rectangle does not have any return type. Constructor will not have any return types. So fine. I have the parameters here. All right. I have the parameters here. How many parameters you have? You have two parameters. So fine, I have created the variables. I'm initializing the length as x and the width as y. So that's what you need to remember here. So fine, I have the other normal method. Okay, in the class, I'm calculating the rectangle area. The formula for that is length into width. So fine. In the main class, imagine I'm having the main class public static void main string average. All those things I have. Let me not write that. So class, so rect. All right, I have the main program. So obviously for this program, okay, for this class, I should have a main program, right? So please observe here, I'm creating the object for this class. If I want to create the object for this class, what is the syntax? I have to write the name of the class, that is rectangle. So fine. Okay, write neatly, sir. Yes, I will. Okay, what is the syntax? Class name. So fine, I need to write the object name now. Object R1 is equal to, so I don't have space, let me write it here. So let me continue that. rectangle. All right, so fine. Can I write like this? Can I write like this? So you have to pass two values. How many values you have to pass? You have to pass two values. Okay, so let me show that to all of you now. Fine. So stay tuned, guys. I'm writing 10, 20. What is this rectangle? Rectangle is this class. What is this R1? I'm creating a copy of this class, one more copy, that is R1. So fine, I told you the definition of constructor. As soon as you create the object for this class, the values of this variables will get initialized. So this 10 and 20, whatever I have, so it is coming here. So please observe rectangle. So rectangle is a constructor. That's what I have told you in the last class. So fine, this is a function call. So this values will come here. So 10 and 20. So this 10 will be here. Okay, this 20 will come here. This 10 will be assigned to this length and this 20 will be assigned to this width. So the value of length and width will be 10 and 20. So fine, the length of width, length is 10 and width is 20. That's what you need to remember. You got my point? You got my point? So then how do I complete this? So fine, let me call that, let me finish it. All right, so R1 dot, what is the function name here? Rect area, or R1 dot rect area. All right, so this is a function call. This object is calling this function. If I call this, length into width will be calculated. So I have the written statement. So this result will be returned to this statement. How do I print? So let me store it in a variable. So let me store it in A. So imagine I have declared int A. Okay, let me print this A. System dot out dot println. All right, A. Print this, close this. So concept that you need to understand with respect to constructor, hope you understood this. Don't worry about the rest of other things. As of now, you need to understand what exactly the constructor is doing for me in this session. All right. So guys, by this, I have come to an end of this session. Hope you learned what exactly the constructor is all about. So if you want to know some of the important and interesting stuff, so keep watching my session, subscribe to the channel. Bye bye, take care.